Hello everyone, Mason here. How are you doing? Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Today, it's time for a tag video. Imagine if A Song of Ice and Fire was written by E.L. James, or The Silence of the Lambs was written by Roger Hargreaves, and it was a manga. That's the sort of thing we're dealing with today, because I'm tackling the Imagine If book tag originally created by Books with Emily Fox. Link in the description. Here's the deal. I created 3 lists. One with books, one with authors, and one with genres, settings, and various prompts. Then I used a random number generator to mix and match them for ridiculous results. This one is a fun one, and I want to see more people do it, but I don't actually want to tag anyone because it's kind of time consuming and I know people are busy, so I don't want to put anyone under pressure. If you want to do it, and let me know so I can watch it. Right, let's get to it. Well, we're kicking off with an absolute banger for number 1. Imagine if Twilight was written by William Shakespeare as a dystopian novel. This one's beautiful, man. Not only do we get Shakespeare writing the mundane melodrama of Twilight, it's also set in some weird dystopian world. That's just brilliant. For shame I cannot choose. My heart is torn asunder betwixt these two for whom it races. I'm sorry guys, you can't tell me that you don't want to read this one. If you try, I simply don't believe you. Honestly, I have no idea where the dystopian aspect would come into it, but I am endlessly entertained by this idea. Number 2 is completely different, but almost equally as weird. What if Pride and Prejudice was written by Joe Abercrombie as a young adult novel? So we've got a Regency romance with a grimdark fantasy author with teenagers. This one would be so edgy. The thing is, with Twilight by Shakespeare, I kind of want to read that ironically. With Pride and Prejudice by Joe Abercrombie, I don't know. I actually am kind of intrigued. From my very limited experience with Abercrombie, he seems to have a massive focus on character development, and he's very good at fleshing those characters out. I think because he's so well known for grimdark, he might actually be able to tackle the teenage angst without making it melodramatic. He also probably wouldn't struggle with the historical setting because fantasy has a historical setting, or at least it does most of the time. Yeah, this one's funny to start with, but then when you start thinking about it, I'm actually kind of intrigued. Number 3 is so crazy, it doesn't even need a genre adding to it. What if James Bond was written by Trevor Phillips from the Grand Theft Auto series? Trevor writing a spy thriller. Brilliant. This one would be insane, hilarious, and very, very violent. I can just picture him in his trailer hammering away at the keyboard thinking that he's doing an absolutely fantastic job and getting Ron to be his beta reader. Poor Ron finding a plot hole and trying to point it out to Trevor without getting his head smashed in. At the same time, I don't know if he would notice a plot hole because he thinks the sun shines out of Trevor's arse, so he'd probably just think it was perfect. But then you have to imagine what Michael and Franklin would be like when he gave it to them. The thing is, in the GTA world, I actually think that this version of James Bond would be an absolute success. Imagine all the crazy, weird gadgets that Bond would have. Honestly, I feel sorry for Bond's love interest in this version, and I am kind of disturbed by how graphic the sex scenes would be. Number 4, what if The Chronicles of Narnia were written by Stephen King as a thriller? Now, Stephen King doing a thriller isn't particularly wild, it's not like he's not done those, but with The Chronicles of Narnia? Well, okay, I'm kind of in for that, but I just don't know how it would work. I'm not gonna lie, I like this one, but I can't get it to mesh in my head in the slightest. Like, I'm imagining the magician's nephew and the puddle world, with them going through the portals into all the different universes and collecting the characters as they go along, and I just can't imagine how he would turn that into a thriller. I guess it would just have a much darker aesthetic. I mean, I wouldn't know because I haven't ever done it, but I imagine reading this would be like taking a massive dose of LSD. A quick spoiler alert for The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. The whole Aslan being sacrificed scene would be so much worse. I mean, he's done fantasy, he's done thriller, he's arguably one of the best authors of all time. I'm sure he can make it work, I'm just not sure how. Number 5 is the first one that isn't comedic at all, but probably kinda works. It's The Jungle Book, written by Neil Gaiman. I don't know too much about Gaiman because I've never read anything by him, but he did write one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who ever, which was The Doctor's Wife. I feel like, judging by his storytelling in that episode and from what I've heard of him, I think that he could probably do a good job with this, and fans of his would love it. There's not too much to say about this one, to be honest. I think it probably just kinda works, and it would sell like half-price donuts at the beach. Number 6 is a retelling of Dracula by Pay Vio from Attention with time travel. I don't know about you guys, but I would love this, and I have a feeling that Pay would love it too. Science fiction Dracula with time travel. I think we'd get so many drawn out descriptions of exactly how time travel works, the rules around it and the problems that it presents, that your brain would probably just turn to mush. The problem is, it would make all the sense in the world, but no sense at all. Like, if you were smart enough to follow what he was actually saying, it would be watertight and you wouldn't be able to pick holes in it, but for those of us who have normal human brains, it would be like reading gibberish. I just love the idea of Pay tackling vampires and time travel in one story. Pay, if you listen to this, please let me know how you would do this. I want to know. The people want to know. Give us what we want. Number 7 is another one that doesn't need a genre. What if there was a book called A Detailed Description of What My Farts Smell Like by Stephanie Meyer? That's just too good, man. It's too good. A Detailed Description of What My Farts Smell Like by Stephanie Meyer. The New York Times #1 bestseller. I'm just going to move on because there's nothing that I could add to that would make it funnier than it already is. Number 8 is I Am Legend by Roald Dahl as a graphic novel. This is another one that sounds weird at first, but with a few tweaks, it might actually be kinda good. So it'd be a post-apocalyptic children's story written by Roald Dahl, and of course the illustrations would be done by Quentin Blake. I mean, it does kinda sound inappropriate, but at the same time that's what children's stories are like a lot of the time. On the surface they seem like fun adventures, but when you actually start diving a little bit deeper they have much darker meanings. Yes, it is about vampires, but some kids will like vampires, so who cares? I actually quite like the thought of a children's story that carries the message that I Am Legend does. Sometimes you're afraid of things simply because you don't understand them enough, and in the end your actions make you the monster. On a much darker note though, I don't know whether it's in the original book, but that scene with the dog from the Will Smith movie, that with a Quentin Blake style illustration, yeah, that's kinda disturbing. Joking aside though, you can't tell me that Roald Dahl hasn't tackled some messed up content. The witches, that's all I'm saying. Number 9 is The Wizard of Oz, written by Caitlin Doughty, where, and I'm not joking about this, everybody dies in the end. That right there is the random number generator being a dick. For those of you who are unaware, Caitlin is a YouTuber, an author, and most importantly, a mortician. Have you ever found yourself wondering whether a munchkin has different stages of decomposition to that of a normal human being? Because I hadn't, but now I have, and I really want to know. Caitlin is the one that can tell us. Just for fun, I'm going to turn this one into an author collaboration. What if we threw Kathy Reichs into the mix? So now it's a Wizard of Oz retelling written by a mortician and a forensic anthropologist, where everybody dies in the end. Yeah, Oz feels like a much more dangerous place now. Of course, it would be presented as a crime novel, and it would also have some of Caitlin's signature weird humour. We'd get detailed, scientific descriptions of exactly what a house falling out of the sky and landing on top of you does to your body, as well as how fast you'll decompose afterwards. If you think about it, between the two of them we'd actually get some fairly decent world building, because there'd be all these anthropological and cultural insights into how Oz works and what the people who live there believe and how they act and what their customs are. It'd be strange, for sure, but I actually think it'd be pretty good. We already got all that with Wicked though, didn't we? Yeah, good point, but Kathy and Caitlin probably wouldn't have the weird orgy sex party dungeon thing. Are you seriously sure about that though? Because I ain't. Let's just say I'm 95% sure. Since number 10 is the last one, the finale, I thought I'd go all out and do a couple of rolls, and the results are pretty magical. What if Arthur Conan Doyle wrote a mixture between Oliver Twist and 1984 set in space? I'm not sure whether I want this or not. You know what? Orwellian government, orphaned pickpocket child, steampunk setting? Yeah, I'd give this a read. Ooh, maybe it could be set on a steam-powered spaceship. You've got to pick a pocket or two. Do you mind? Leave me alone. I love Oliver Twist. All jokes aside, I'm sure Conan Doyle probably could have done a decent job with Oliver Twist. It's not a million miles away from the sort of thing it seems like he'd write. It's not like it'd be strange for Sherlock and Oliver Twist to exist in the same universe. I'm not entirely sure how 1984 would come into it, but I'm also sure you probably could make it work. Ugh, now I'm imagining what Space Gruel would be. Don't think you'd be asking for more of that, little Oliver. Yes, he would. Poor little guy's starving, leave him alone. Right, you're getting a bit weird, Dylan. I'm glad this video's almost over. Question of the day. Would you rather be so incredibly funny that nobody ever takes you seriously, or so incredibly serious that nobody ever finds you funny? Super Shoutout. I recently discovered Chatty the Mad Chatter, and you guys should go and check her out, because she's dead friendly and she has all that good Booktube content that you know and love. Book reviews, read-alongs, a TBR game based on snakes and ladders, which nobody can tell me isn't cool, and she also has one-shot videos in which she does no editing whatsoever. That ain't easy, guys. If I wore a hat, I'd take it off for her. I never wear a hat though. I look like a dick. Go show Chatty's channel some love. It'll be linked in the description. She deserves it, and I said you should. Now do as you're told. If you've enjoyed this video, the like and subscribe buttons are just sitting there, waiting to be pressed. Now press them, or I'll tell your mum that you used her picture to catfish people on Tinder. If you want to share your thoughts, or even just get in touch to say hi and have a chat, you know where the comments section is, and the link to my Twitter can be found in the description. Thanks ever so much for spending time with me today, guys. Until next time, take care. For now, I'm off. And you should have a good one.